Good afternoon, everyone. I hereby call this third day, second regular session to order. Today is September 15th, 2025. The time is 1:59 in the afternoon here in the Senate chamber of the Vice Speaker, Suspi Mufnas Memorial Building, Capitol Hill, Saipan. It is my honor to welcome everyone here this afternoon. And before we proceed, I respectfully ask that we kindly turn any mobile devices to silent mode or turn them off so that they don't interrupt the proceedings. Also, today's session is being streamed live for the viewing public on cable television channel 23, Senate's YouTube page, and the Northern Marianas Commonwealth Legislature's Facebook page. Before we proceed any further, I kindly ask that we rise and stand for a moment of silence. Now, I'd like to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Senator Babalta, Senator Calvo,
Present.
Senator Castro,
Estiga.
Senator Cruz,
Here.
Senator Hofschneider,
Here.
Mr. President,
Here.
Senator Magofnia,
Present.
Senator Manglonia Donald,
Present.
Senator Manglonia Paul,
Here.
Mr. President, 8 members present and 1 member absent.
With 8 members present, we have the quorum to proceed with today's session. Let the record reflect that Senator Babota is hereby excused from today's session. Before proceeding on to the public comments, I would like to recognize the LB staff assisting us today for our Senate session. Sitting in for the clerk, we have our Senate General Clerk, Ms. Chanel Borja, our Senate Clerk, Ms. Dolores Bermudez. Legal counsel for today is Ms. Antoinette Villagomez. Our fiscal analyst is Mr. David Mbapon. Senior legislative assistant, Ms. Jolyn Duenas Tagobal. Our senior sergeant at arms is Benjamin Terlahi. Assisting us with our IT is Deborah Camacho. And here representing the Youth Congress and also assisting the legislature with our social media is Mr. Luis John Castro. In the room too, I believe, is our legislative assistant, Mr. Devin Macaranas. And with that, before we move on to public comment, I would like to recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I move to suspend pertinent rules to amend the agenda to include on-number communications.
So there's a motion to accept unnumbered communication and has been seconded. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Castro,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Paul,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members present voting yes.
With 8 members voting yes, the unnumbered communications are hereby accepted by the Senate. Recognized floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend Rule 7, Section 10 to withdraw House Bill 2446 HD1 and to place it on the bill calendar for action at our next session.
Any
Good.
objections? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to suspend pertinent rules to amend the agenda to place House Bill 24-50 on today's bill calendar for action.
Do I hear a second? So there's been a motion and it has been seconded. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the public comment section. This is the section of our agenda where we allow the public to provide a comment on any of the agenda items on today's agenda. And with that, public comment is officially open for the public. Please note, whoever would like to make a public comment, please provide your name, the entity that you represent, and please keep it to about 5 minutes. Thank you. The floor is now open. There being none, public comment is officially closed. If there are no objections from the members, I would like to move directly to agenda item K, pre-filed bills, initiatives, local bills, and resolutions. And with that, I would like to recognize Senator Manny Gregorio T. Castro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to introduce Senate Bill 24-43 to deregulate hunting, taking, and possession of sambar deer or sambar deer in the CNMI and for other purposes. Introduced by myself.
Thank you, Senator Castro. I would now like to recognize the Vice President, Senator Magofnia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to formally introduce Senate Resolution Number 24-10 to disapprove the Mariana Elan Corporation's new lease for the former Mariana Resort and Spa properties. Thank you. Thank you. And also to request, if there are no objections from the members, to place the Senate resolution on calendar for action. Thank you.
No objections from the members? Okay. I have a resolution that I would like to introduce, Senate Resolution 24-09, to recognize and commend Herman Blas Cabrera for his unyielding service and contributions to architecture, education, and public service. As the first Saipan-born Chamorro native licensed to practice architecture in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to place Senate Resolution Number 24-10 on today's resolution calendar.
There's been a motion to place Senate Resolution 2410 on today's resolution calendar and has been seconded. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Senate Resolution 24-10 is hereby placed on today's resolution calendar. If there are no objections, I would like to go to O, resolution calendar. Any objections from the members? No objections? Recognize the floor leader.
At this time, Mr. President, I move for the adoption of Senate Resolution Number 24-09 to recognize and commend Herman Blas Cabrera for his unyielding service and contribution to architecture, education, and public service as the first Saipan-born Chamorro native licensed to practice architecture in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands.
There's been a motion for the adoption of Senate Resolution 24-09 and has been seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Castro,
Good.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Again.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Paul.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members present voting yes.
With all 8 members voting yes, Senate Resolution 24-09 is hereby adopted by this Senate. Short recess. Just for everyone's information, though we are on recess, this is still being live streamed, so the public can enjoy and participate in this momentous occasion. Balance out.
Please,
Fill in.
fill in the blanks. A lot of space up here.
I'll do it again. We'll do it again when we. Okay.
Isa pa may umi si Chairman Boto.
Yeah, balance out. Balance out. So, Mr. Cabrera, on behalf of the 24th CNMI Senate, we would like to recognize you. We would like to recognize and commend you for your unyielding service and contributions to architecture, education, and public service. Huh? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We would like to for your public service, for your public service in Saipan, was the first Saipan-born Chamorro native licensed to practice architecture in the Commonwealth and the Northern Mariana Islands. Congratulations on behalf of your family, the people of the CNMI, and most importantly, the Senate. Thank you.
Speech. Okay, let me say something. There you go. Okay, good afternoon, honorable members of the legislature, distinguished guests, and fellow citizens. All of you are fellow citizens. I am deeply humble and grateful for this legislative resolution in my honor. I want to express my sincere appreciation to each and every one of you who supported this recognition. This resolution is not just a personal acknowledgement, but also a testament to the hard work and dedication that goes into making a difference in our community, and I'm proud to be a part of the community that values public service and recognize the efforts of individuals who strive to make a positive impact. Receiving this resolution on my birthday, September 15, thank you, makes it unforgettable gift. Thank you again. I'm grateful for the recognition of my work and the opportunities I have had to contribute to our community. As mentioned in the resolution, as an architect, I've been dedicated to preserving and showcasing our cultural heritage through various projects such as the Kiosco Center, Northern Marianas Council in Saipan, located near the main post office, the Rota, Ponya Point, Cliff Line, Bay Park, situated at the beautiful bay of Ponya Point. I'm sure that Senator Paul see this already. And when you happen to be in Rota, please go and see this beautiful new park. This initiative not only promotes our unique identity, but also provides spaces for our communities to come together. Lastly, my vision now, which is in my plan, is to develop the beautiful 360-degree of Mount Tapotso as an amusement and recreational state park. This development will create employment, health benefit, and revenue to improve our ailing economy. I envision this space as a destination and as a hub for our visitors as well as for our locals to enjoy. In closing, I, together with my wife, Abby, and children, would like to extend my gratitude to the sponsors of this resolution and to the members who voted in favor of it. Your support means the world to me, and I'm also committed to continue my work in serving our community with integrity and passion. Also, I want to thank my families from the Blasses here, and actually they're from Guam, but they come here just for me. Thank you very much. And the Blasses, the Blasses, the Blasses and the Cabreras. So mostly of the Blasses are from Guam. Okay. Thank you again for this honor, and I'm truly grateful and look forward to continuing our collaborative efforts to make our communities a better place for all of us, for all. Thank you very much.
I'll rise back to session. Next item on the agenda is going to be reading and approval of journal. I recognize the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have Senate Journal number 24-10, first day, second regular session dated August 7th, 2025. I move for its adoption.
There's been a motion for the adoption of Senate Journal 24-10 and has been seconded. Discussion? Ready? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Senate Journal 24-10 is hereby adopted. Floor leader.
Mr. President, we have Senate Journal number 24-11, second day, second regular session dated August 13, 2025. I move for its adoption.
There's been a motion made by the floor leader for the adoption of Senate Journal 24-11 and has been seconded. Discussion? Ready? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Senate Journal 24-11 is hereby adopted. On to D, messages from the governor. Recognize clerk.
Mr. President, we have governor's message numbers 24-70 through 24-114.
Discussion from the members. There being none, moving on to item E, communications from the judiciary. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have one judiciary communication numbers 24-04.
Discussion? Ready? Communications from heads of executive departments. Recognize clerk.
Mr. President, we have one on the agenda, department message numbers 24-12.
Discussion? Ready? On item G, communications from the House. Recognize clerk.
Mr. President, we have 24 on our agenda, 24-58 through 24-81.
Discussion? Recognize. Short recess. We now raise back, and if there are no discussions from the members, we will now move to item H, communications from the Senate. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have 22 on our agenda, Senate communication numbers 24-99 through 24-128.
Discussion from the members. Ready? We will skip. There are no communications from the CNMI delegate. Item I, unfinished business, none. We have concluded with our K, pre-file bills and initiatives. We will move on to L, introduction of bills, initiatives, and local bills and resolutions. Recognize Senator Jude Hofschneider.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. President. Formally introducing Senate Bill 24-44, and that is to establish a driver's education program within the public school system in conjunction with the Traffic Division of the Department of Public Safety and for other purposes.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. Any other members? There being none, I would like to call, at this point, I'd like to call a short recess. We now rise back to session. I apologize for the delay. We are on item O, resolution calendar, and I'd like to recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have Senate Resolution 24-10 to disapprove the Mariana Elan Corporation's new lease for the former Mariana Resort and Spa properties. I move for its adoption.
There's been a motion by the floor leader for the passage of resolution 24-10 and has been seconded. The floor is open for discussion, and with that, I'd like to recognize the Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, to members of the public, I would like to provide some clarity and timelines as to what has transpired during the deliberation of the lease agreement from Elan. And so I would start off with when we actually received the proposed lease agreement, and that was back in January of this year. DPL transmitted the proposed lease to the Senate on January 30, 2025, and subsequently submitted an updated packet on February 3rd, 2025. The lease packet included a final draft agreement approved between Mariana's Elan Corporation and DPL, and a copy of Mariana Elan's proposal, the request for proposal instruction and packet and notice, and copies of pertinent documents related to the evaluation and award notice from DPL. After that, the Senate President referred the lease agreement to the Committee on RED and W, which is Resources, Economic Development, and Workforce, for review and disposition on January 30th. Once the committee received the referral, we worked with our counterparts at the House Natural Resources Committee. We held a joint committee meeting, a public hearing on March 21st, 2025 at the House Chamber in Capitol Hill to allow the public to provide comment on the lease agreement. Again, the joint committee held another joint meeting on March 25, 2025 to receive testimony from DPL as well as Elan to discuss the Mariana's Resort and Spa property lease. The joint meeting was continued to April 8, and that is when we commissioned a letter to DPL requesting for updated financial documents from Mariana Elan Corporation on April 22nd. The packet submitted to the legislature on January 30 and February 3rd included Elan's financial information from year 2020 and prior years in response to DPL's request for the proposal in 2020. However, the joint committee would like to, or the joint committee requested for additional documentation of Elan's financial statements. We requested for both audited and unaudited financial statements up through March 25 of 2025 to determine whether Elan was financially suitable in the current year. After that, there was a joint committee public hearing at the Tonopah Youth Center on April 22nd, 2025, and also held another public hearing at the Gregorio T. Camacho School cafeteria on April 24th, 2025 to allow the community members residing in the areas close to the resort to provide comments on the lease. During those public hearings, many of the community members who testified at the public hearings raised some concerns regarding, among other things, the vast amount of public lands, approximately 1.4 million square meters that will be locked into lease. The fact that Mariana Elan already holds 3 public land leases with hotels, the proposal to relocate the Marpi baseball field to Tonopah, the inadequate public benefits provided in the lease, and the possible missed opportunities for new investors to lease public lands at Marpi to establish new industries in the CNMI. On June 12, 2025, DPL transmitted a letter responding to the Joint Committee's letter dated April 22nd. DPL attached a letter from Elan on dated June 9, 2025, which stated the following. One, that ELAN is a newly established entity, so audited financial statements were not available. Two, that the total investment in the CNMI to date is $128 million for Kensington Hotel Saipan, Pacific Islands Club, and Coral Ocean Resort. And three, updated business growth forecast of 50% decrease during the initial 3 to 4 years of operation, with 20% adjustment thereafter. And four, included copies of 2 of ELAN's certificate of deposit balance with Woori Bank and NH Bank. After reviewing the documents transmitted by DPO on June 12, 2025, it appears that Mariana ELAN failed to comply with the Joint Committee Chair's letter requesting for audited or unaudited financial statements. Mariana ELAN has been incorporated for several years, at least as of 2020, when it submitted its proposal for the Marianas Resort and Spa properties. Therefore, it should have at least a few years of unaudited financial statements available to provide DPO and the legislature. The bank certificate of deposit only shows that ELAN has money saved up in the bank. However, the deposits fail to indicate ELAN's liabilities and expenditures, which would demonstrate financial transparency, financial clarity, and overall financial wellness, supporting the ELAN's financial suitability. So, with all of that said, on behalf of the committee and myself, we believe that it is in the CNMI and public's best interest that the legislature proceed with transparency and with confidence in the long-term viability of the Mariana ELAN Corporation lease. The Joint Committee's efforts intended to ensure that appropriate documentation were provided to and reviewed by the committee so it can make an informed decision based on verified financial information. This approach protects both the public interest and the integrity of the investment process. However, without any financial statements, the Joint Committee and the Senate cannot determine the true and accurate financial health of Marianas ELAN Corporation, or whether Mariana ELAN has the financial resources and capability to take over, improve, manage, and operate the Marianas Resort and Spa properties. Without any evidence and confidence in ELAN's financial suitability to operate the resort, the committee cannot in good conscience recommend to approve ELAN's new lease for the former Marianas Resort and Spa. Accordingly, it is the consensus and sentiment of the Senate committee to recommend that the Senate disapprove ELAN's new lease for the former Marianas Resort and Spa properties at this time. So I just wanted to share to the community what has transpired and why we came to a decision to disapprove. And basically, it's to protect the interest and integrity of the property and ensure that whoever is going to take care of, take the investment, that they are financially suitable moving forward. That would be the responsible thing to do for our people. So that's all I have, President. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. Any other members? For me, I would like to say thank you to both houses. I would also like to thank Vice President and the committee members for their due diligence and their time and efforts as they went around doing several public hearings, not only here located in the legislature, but also within the community that's most affected by this proposal. And with that, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Castro,
Good.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Donald, Senator Manglonia Paul,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Donald. Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members present voting yes.
With all 8 members voting yes, Senate Resolution 24-10 is hereby adopted by the Senate. Moving on to the bill calendar. I would now like to recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have House Bill number 24-45 to reappropriate $50,000 under Public Law number 2110, Section 2G, for operational expenses of the Office of the Mayor of the Municipality of Rota. I move for its passage.
Good.
There is a motion on the floor for the passage of House Bill number 24-45 and has been seconded. The floor is open for the discussion. Recognize Chairman.
Mr. President, I'd like to offer a floor amendment, and maybe copies can be provided. Basically, the floor amendment is to take 25,000 of that and make it available for the Rota patients' subsistence allowance in the amount of 50,000, and the expenditure authority for the funds under Section 2B of this act shall be the Secretary of Finance. So that would be my motion. If we don't need to have written copies distributed, then I think the floor amendment is very simple, that the 50,000 or the 50,000, 25 will be for the medical subsistence of the patients, and the remaining will be for the mayor's office for the purpose.
Thank you, Senator Paul.
So move.
Thank you, Senator Magnolia. Do I hear a second? Okay. There's been a motion for the passage of, or for the amendment on House Bill 24-45 and has been seconded. Discussion? Ready?
Ready.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Castro, Senator Cruz, Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Magnolia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Magnolia Paul,
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
Okay, with all 8 members voting yes, the amendments are hereby adopted. Now, back to the main motion. Recognize open for the discussion. If everybody's ready, we'll recognize the clerk for the roll.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Castro, Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Magnolia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Magnolia Paul,
Yes.
Senator Castro,
Good.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
Okay, with all 8 members voting yes, House Bill number 24-45 is hereby passed in the form of Senate Draft 1. Recognize the floor leader.
Mr. President, we have House Bill number 24-50 HS1 to authorize a loan between the Commonwealth Government and the Marianas Public Land Trust in the amount of $29 million and authorize the Marianas Public Land Trust to withhold and retain a net annual distributable income starting fiscal year 2026 for repayment and security of the loan. I move for its passage.
There's been a motion for the passage of short recess. So we now rise back, and I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to resolve into committee of the whole.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion to dissolve in the committee of the whole, and has been seconded in discussion. Ready? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Castro,
Enggan.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider,
Enggan.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Manglonia Paul.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
With all 8 members voting yes, we're now dissolving into committee of the whole.
Good afternoon, members. We are now in committee of the whole, and at this time, I recognize any member for any comments at this time. If there's none, I recognize Vice President.
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarification, Mr. Dimapon, I would like to know if there are any other debt obligation with MPLT to ensure that we don't impede any of those payments to MPLT using the interest income that we've borrowed against for this particular loan, the 29 million. Thank you.
My only understanding at this point is that line of credit that is open for the Sinmay government for the EDA loan to finance that on a monthly basis. That's the only obligation I believe that Sinmay has with MPLT. The latest one I believe was paid off, and that was back in Super Typhoon Yutu when the Sinmay government loaned approximately, I think, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around 15 million. I think that amount is already paid off, as I saw it from the communication of MPOT. So that's the only obligation that Sinmay government has to date.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Dimapon. I just want to make sure that the interest income that is set aside for the line of credit does not conflict with the payment that will be used to apply against this loan. So I guess timing is key, right, to ensure that whatever is being used for this loan, that because the line of credit is essentially not, it's kind of like a security deposit or a
Right.
collateral
Collateral.
against the interest income. So not to say that finance will be delinquent or breach their agreement with the payment, but just to be sure that, you know, we are mindful of that and that we have that, you know, that doesn't happen. We want to make sure, because as soon as finance defaults on their payment, the interest income is automatically withheld to offset the line of credit. And so if that should happen, what's going to happen to the payment that will be used to offset to be applied against this loan? So I just want to make sure that we
Sure,
are
sure.
mindful of that and we're careful
Yeah.
so that we don't get into situations like that.
Just to clarify that, to have certainty on the way finance is keeping up with its obligation, we can send a letter to the sector of finance just to tell us the status to date, whether they're on top of their responsibility with the line of credit in paying the obligation on time.
Thank you for that, and that would be prudent and responsible of us to ensure that finance is current with their obligations with regards to the line of credit, so that it doesn't create any issues with the payment that will be due for this loan should we pass it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Vice President. I recognize Senator Paul Manglona.
Thank you, Chairman. Dave, I know that you served also at SIDA before as a board of director, right? So you're familiar with this public law 18-12, which authorizes SIDA to float a pension obligation bond up to $300 million, right? So can you explain kind of what's the amount that is left after you deduct so far all the loans in the past to as interim measure to satisfy the minimum annual payment.
Sure.
So and then where can we get an update as to the status of such a mandate from Public Law 18-12 to Commonwealth Economic Development Authority?
Okay. Let me run down the numbers. We started out with 300 million, and then the first loan that was consummated as interim financing was between Bank of Guam and the Sinamay through SIDA, and that was for 20 million. So 20 million minus 200 million, it gets us down to 280 million, right? Then recently we got another one. It refinanced that 20 million, 51 million. So 280 minus 50, that's 230 minus 1 is 229. Is that correct? 280 minus 30 is 250, no? And then minus 1 is 249 because it's about 50 minus 280, that's 230, and then you minus 1 million from the 230 is 229. So 229 million right now to date we have with the authorized POB interim POB authorization for bond financing.
So we can actually borrow 300 million and pay off this interim financing. But I guess the second part of my question is where can we get an update on the feasibility? I mean, is there somebody out there that can listen to us and kind of get
Okay.
a pension obligation bond? What's the chances based on our financial situation? Because I don't think we can continue to borrow every year
Sure.
30 million, right?
Yeah, normally when we enter the capital market to get some financing from the bond investors, right? We will normally have our financial statements audited, prepare the single audit report. As you can see today, right? I think the sector finance has admitted that they are behind by 2 fiscal years. So if you don't have your financial statement audited, then the investors will look at your financials and they won't rely on your financials if it's not audited by a professional CPA firm. And the opinion from that firm gives the investors confidence in terms of whether or not they're going to rely on that financial statement. And for that to go into the market, I think there are some key players that go into the market. They have to hire a rating agency. The rating agency will review the financial capability of the Sinamay to determine whether there's confidence for the investors to give them loan. So if there's no confidence on the financial statement of the Sinamay government, then those investors will not issue the bond or purchase the bond for the Sinamay for the pension obligation bond. And that's my explanation there, Senator Mangloya.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to keep it short. I know this is going a little bit to the side, but so I think the Committee, Fiscal Affairs, needs some kind of a briefing or a summary from SIDA to let us know the status of what it takes to take it to the market, and because we have to look at the long term, right? We cannot come back every year and wait for some bond interest payment to be available to borrow money again. Fortunately, now there's that possibility because the 15 million is paid off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me just add something that is very important. When you look at the financial statements, right, we have 3 financial statements of the government on the general fund, for example. You have the balance sheet, right, which is called the statement of position, no? Then you have the statement of revenue expenditures and changes in fund balance. Those are the 2 basic financial statements that are with the general fund. And then there is another one that it's called Commonwealth-wide financial statement, where it combines the net activities of the government, which is the net position of all the resources combining all the funds together. And that will be based on accrual basis, not on modified accrual basis. Then you have the statement of activities, which is also somewhat like an income statement, but it's more like an accrual basis also, not like a statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes of fund balance, because those are current resources. But when it hits to the government-wide financial statement, you also have to go into the economic resources, and that's where you also use the accrual basis of accounting. So now, if the investor comes into the financial statement of the Sinamay government, right? First, they look at your balance sheet, they look at your liquidity, you know, whether the Sinamay government financial position has enough cash to take care for its current obligation, and also has enough cash to take care for its long-term obligation. And that one, they look at its capability on how strong it can generate future cash flow to pay for the future long-term obligations. If those financial capabilities are not there, most likely the investors will not buy the bond for the, will not invest in the bond for the Sinamay government. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. At this time, I recognize Senator Hofschneider.
This is Masia, Chair. Thank you, Dave. And just staying on topic, just for the purpose of, for myself also, we've been discussing this matter, and many of us have some concern. Are we? You think, in your opinion, is the CNMI bankable right now?
The way to answer that, Mr. Chairman, is we need to get the financial statements of the government.
Okay.
So that we can see the true picture of where we stand financially. Yeah.
So going back to the earlier discussion on the 300 million authorization law, the 18-12, you said 229 is still.
Okay. Yes. That balance is coming out of the reduction of the first 20 million, and then the next 51 million. So it goes down now from 300 million down to 229 million.
Okay.
And then we're expecting to get another 29 million.
Okay.
So that balance will eventually go down to about 200 million.
Okay. To some, the government can actually keep keep crediting, keep advancing and all that, but to some, it's like it's dangerous, because especially in an island region. But how do you say this? This is something that is very critical for all of us, as it would hopefully free up some liquidity in our government here to address critical information. Critical programs. But in the midst of all this, you think that engaging into an additional obligation like this, we're still marketable for a general obligation discussion? Is that something that and again, this is just your opinion, based on your expertise as a financial.
Right now, the way we looked at it, Mr. Chairman, the factors that we have to consider is the economic condition right now, and also our accounting and reporting. We're way behind from the audits, and investors will normally rely on financial statements to see whether the investment is gonna make a return, and if there's no reliable financial statements for them, then we're still gonna be in trouble of going out in the market and getting some investors to buy the bonds for us. My position right now is that it's not the right timing for the Sinamay to go into capital financing or the bond financing. We don't have the financial capability at this time. We don't know exactly where we stand financially. We don't know exactly how much cash we have available today. so that everything will be paid on time, whether the 700 million consent judgment will still be not at risk at this time. We don't know where we stand financially, so for us to be confident about our financial condition is we need the financial statements to make us comfortable. Without that, there's a big risk for us to go into a default of payment, and that's going to be a disaster.
Yeah,
for the
that's
cinema.
that's the last thing that we wanna,
Yeah.
want to occur. That's why we're having this careful discussions. Okay, the only thing that that can give us comfort, and especially the viewing public, is that this essentially is the repayment mechanism is based on actually the only option right now that we have is our fund, the fund portfolio, and its interest. I believe it's 5.5 million to date every year. So this is basically a pass-through payment. We're not going to account that for. Usually that we use that 5.5 million to fund other programs in the government on a budget year, but in this case we're speaking for that already in the next whatever 4 to 5 years. So just to stay consistent with what we're about to consider. And personally, I understand where we're at. I'm not a whole lot convinced earlier, but I have to make that decision once the president calls the vote. Thank you, Dave. Now you back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. I recognize Senator Castro.
Thank you, Mr. Dave, for giving a clear picture. And that's one thing that I always said. I've been saying you cannot consider loans as if you're borrowing money to pay off your liability, we should never consider that borrowed money as a revenue source. And I know it's been reiterated by a lot of our Senate members. And even when I was in the House, I always asked, have we done an appraisal on all our assets so that we know the value of what we have right now, the real estate that we have, the government buildings. And I was told that it hasn't been done since, I think some of it is like the 80s, late 80s. And things change. It goes up, it goes down, but just like in the balance sheet, you have your assets, your liabilities, your equity. We're missing a piece of the puzzle. So I really appreciate my Senate colleagues, because we're usually in the same mindset that we need to really start putting our focus on investing into assets rather than putting more money into liabilities, but then our cash flow situation is gonna keep going back to the same. So there's good things about grants, but there's also a downside. When we get all these grants, it creates a culture of spend because we're gonna lose the money. But sometimes a lot of the things, like when we look at the pathway, let's not fix it because there's a grant coming. Meanwhile, when the tourists come, it's already 2 years and they see that it's damaged. It affects our tourism. I just think we need to continue to look deeper in the data and do a little environmental scanning. Sometimes we make decisions based on let's say our process. The gaming industry was really nice with IPI, but if we did some environmental scanning, we would have looked at the fact that China is gonna outlaw gambling outside of its country, right? So that affected tourism. Again, I'm not against gaming or anything, but I think we really need to look our return on investment, whether it's education or scholarships. If we're investing into one's education, the return on investment is spelled out in the MOU that you will come back and you will serve our community, because right now we need a lot of our, you know, those workforce that we invested in education. We need them to come back. There's a lot of people majoring in finance and accounting. So again, we invest in the asset, but we also have to make sure our policies and procedures are set up to make it conducive for people to come back. So again, Mr. Dave, thank you for your time, and just a message to all our different agencies that we really need to look into our process, because sometimes our process is what's really killing the economy. Just like in regards to the audits, you know, if you know, we haven't been doing that in time, so we need to look into the process. Why is it always delayed, and fix that root process that's causing the delay. If we need more personnel or we need more qualified personnel, we need to pump resources to that agency, because it affects everything. It affects the system, and that's why we have this systemic problem. So I just want to thank you and thank everyone involved in this process, because we're starting to really see the bigger picture of these systemic issues. Thank you, Chair. You.
Thank you, Senator Castro. Any other questions for Mr. Demapan? If there's none, at this time, can I recognize Senate President King Neighbors?
Thank you, Floor Leader. Now I'd like to offer a motion to rise back to plenary session.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. This committee of the whole is hereby dissolved.
We now rise back to the session. Before us was a motion for the passage of House Bill 24-50 HS1. There was a request to dissolve into the committee as a whole, and I want to thank Fiscal Analyst Dave Demapan for providing us some guidance on what we are now about to vote on. The discussion is still open.
Mr. President, just point of clarification, did we make that proper motion for disposal of such bill already, or
Yes.
already still under discussion?
Yes, we're under discussion.
Can I just be recognized?
Yes, sir.
A few minutes. Thank
Recognize
you.
Senator
And again, thank you, Dave, for articulating some of the information that the members are asking, and it helps with our decision. But I do wanna, because there seems to be an urgency of such legislation, we didn't even get a chance to submit this to committee. But I do wanna reflect on the committee report from the House, which was dated on August 19, 2025. And one on page 3 on the top, in the public comments, there's a portion there, and that was read out by from a letter by the late governor to then President Mendiola and Speaker Villagomez, that in reference to the inquiry whether or not the submittal of the budget proposal from April 1st, 2025, would there be any changes? So obviously everybody knows that there was no changes, but I do want to read out that, and I quote, that in addition, my administration through the CEDA is actively engaged in discussion with MPLT to secure a 29 million pension obligation interim bond as authorized by 1812, as amended 1844, 1845. So these funds are critical to meeting the minimum annual payment obligation to the NMI Settlement Fund retirees for FY 2026. Now, with respect to this statement, Mr. President, and the last few months of the economic trend and all the news that we see, from flights cancellation to legacy business shuttering doors to lethargic hotel occupancy rate. All those are indicative of a backward trend of economic activity. So it's interesting that although this presentation back then was made that there's no difference, that I want to believe what's been happening the last few months versus what being projected. So, and then it was doubled down by asking us to engage into another. This is not new revenue, may I say. This is a debt on top of already what we have. So, be that as it may, we're here today, and this is why we're elected to make these difficult decisions and figure out a way to rescue and sustain government services by way of this particular proposal, and that the work doesn't stop. And I urge our colleagues from the House that we really need to come out with legislations that can advance our economic recovery, because it's important to navigate forward, as this is not going to be almost a biannual or every other 2 years. We have to credit our way out of debt and stuff, and I think it's only fair to the younger generation and to the public that we're trying to live within our means. So yeah, I know it's a tall task and it's tough, but that's why we're here. And I yield back, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. Floor is still open to any members. Recognize Vice President.
Thank you, Pres. Again, I just want to share my sentiments and with the public who are listening in. It's not that we don't support, let me speak for myself. It's not that I don't support the $29 million loan, because it is for our retirees, but I would also like to let the public know to keep in mind that, by us approving this loan, we are exhausting the only financial resource we have left here in the CNMI. And should something come up, and I hope we don't, but should a natural disaster occur or just something of great importance happens, and we exhaust the only resource we have right now to its fullest, right? That really leaves us in a really bad situation, and I would hope that we take proactive measures to ensure that we have something in place should something come up, rather than be reactive and try to figure something out when something happens. So I just would like to share that with the public, that we are very much in support of making sure that we pay our retirees, but also taking into account that we are also taking a lot of risk here by exhausting fully what we have left for us in case something happens. As the old sayings say, by our elders, to always leave something for rainy days, and in this case we are fully exhausting whatever resource we have. So just keep that in mind. I'm not being a pessimist, I'm just being realistic about the situation that we are in, but we truly understand where we stand, and right now our backs are against the wall. So I just wanted to share that, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. I recognize floor leader.
Thank you, President. In light of what the Vice President had brought up, and also just considering all the requests that we've been receiving, I think the alternative to not getting this loan would be an austerity, and not just for PSS. I think that the one thing that wasn't clear in the House version of the budget was the need to further cut personnel if we weren't going to authorize this loan. Considering that what's not budgeted is the GHLI payment on the government side, and if we had to address that, then there will be further cuts to personnel. And right now, there's just not enough time to, I guess, warn our people and also have them prepare for anything as drastic as a reduction in hours across the board, across all branches and all agencies. You know, prior to the discussion of this loan, whether it be the full amount or even a portion of it, there was that tough question that was asked, that I asked the committee, and that was to consider, I think it was a 8 to 16 hour reduction across the board, while we figure out the situation on how we're going to proceed with the loan or whether there are other resources that are going to come in. But the one thing that I do want to also make clear, and after having gone through the hearing with PSS, I think that further, we need to look at how PSS is spending their money, despite having this constitutional allotment of 25% to PSS. As you've seen in the current fiscal year, we've earmarked 300,000 for something as simple as inter-island travel for our students, but further also looking at how PSS spends their funds and the possibility of earmarking additional funds to ensure that programs are intact, or the teachers are equipped with the resources they need to be able to care for our students. So that's some of the stuff that I hope that with the blessing of the Senate President as well as the committee chair, that we also further look into how these monies are spent, because PSS had time to prepare for this fiscal cliff, but we're here at the last minute where they're coming up with all these drastic changes that is causing concern and chaos in the community in terms of students having to stay home every Monday and teachers also being put in austerity. So that's something that we can further look at when we deliberate on the actual budget bill, which is hopefully, the Senate is set to act on it on Thursday. However, I think with this MPLT loan, this gives us time to address what the possibility may be come fiscal year 27, even if our economic resources have not improved, or we don't get additional funding source elsewhere. There's a possibility of an austerity come fiscal year 27, and so this buys us a little time, but I think it's necessary right now to ensure that employees are kept at a full-time status until such time additional resources can be identified. And so I just wanted to share my thoughts on that, because in the beginning, again, I wasn't too keen on approving the full 29 million, but it's something that with the discussion with the members and the administration, I think this is one way that we can address a lot of the concerns that were brought up from the different hearings that were held on all three islands. And so with that, Mr. President, I yield.
Thank you, Floor Leader, for that. I recognize Senator Castro.
If all the economic indicators are and what's available in our books is leading towards austerity measures, I just wanted to make this request on the record that if we were to do austerity hours, that it align with our align with the maybe school hours, so that parents can wouldn't have extra expenses, because if their salaries are already going to be reduced, at least if the austerity hours are between like 2:30 and 4:30, they don't have to hire babysitters, or so at least ways where we can minimize the effects of what we're forced to do, in essence, due to the economic uncertainty. Thank you, Press.
Thank you, Senator Castro. Any other members? Recognize Senator Magnolia.
Betsagia mo nakadada President no pareji ritirau siya ne maneking na bonito testify na ita question si David Demopon ufaisin no office status neji public law 18-12 na autoriza CDA po azo no 3 milyon ang isinya no taposi i liability ni retirement fund mucho más para i 75% na na madidb retirao siya gipago na aksyon no ta sa pupunta sa manchinichigitit sa takikibalansa na fiscal year logi magait chetsu i sida no ufa machatsung jan i Department of Finance jo ma azaw koseki mga na karasakan ta fan azaw nai pues debit fan azaw da sinya bitti ma jauji mismo 29 milyon jan eji tetenan na balansa za mapaketi cosa que karasakan tiufan susustu i manlitirao pues ugagagaw i kinemprendinia za ufa machatsung isida i Department of Finance fanazaw 300 milyon sa sige na obligasyon madisidi na district court na debit yung maposi man litirao 75% niti umahalom genaw i obligasyon ta na ta committee pata posi 25% iman litirao basta ta sa puputes ti pago no sa kusaki balansa za ugwa didi masalapi na patajura i public school system lo esta mahunguka na i PSS na i sentimento nesti na guma no gua didi diskrido ya latsa siya ti mandinansi mamapaktika gi apa si mamaestro siya dan i administrador dyan na mangyakentus pago i membro sa anay bumula sa lapi ti mausan maulik ini sentimento gwini za no logi pago ti siya ta sacrificia i studenteta na no manafan susustu na momento pues ti estia loki no gesti 29 milyon anong na managwagwa loki no salapi pareji government health life insurance manay didi PSS dan official ti mamakubri gi budget na ta kikibalansa. Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Magnolia. That being said, I would like to make just some brief remarks, if I may. Obviously, through the information that was provided to us by our fiscal analyst, it's very clear that this is the last parachute that we have, as the Vice President had made clear, and as it related to the analysis provided by our fiscal analyst. Now, this decision is not taken lightly. I agree with the floor leader. I was very adamant, open to the discussion, but adamant for the full amount. But it's also very murky how we're going to be able to adequately fund not only PSS. Senator Magnolia spoke about the retirees, DCCA, the Manamco programs, the grants that are being cited for using money to supplant their services as opposed to a supplemental usage of these grant monies. So we're again, I don't envy the decisions we're having to make as leaders, but this is what we signed up to do, and we don't have the luxury of looking at one individual agency. We are the Senate. We are the half of the two houses of the legislature, and our mandate, our charter, is to ensure, again, we maximize and look after the entirety of the CNMI and its people. So, with that. I will ask the clerk to kindly please call the roll.
Senator Calvo,
Yes.
Senator Castro,
Ngan.
Senator Cruz, Senator Hofschneider,
Good.
Senator Magofnia,
Yes.
Senator Maglonia Donald,
Yes.
Senator Maglonia Paul,
Yes.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
With all 8 members voting yes, House Bill 24-50 HS1 hereby passes the Senate. Short recess, please. Is back to session. On to item Q, petition, memorials, and miscellaneous communications. Any members? Being none, we'll move on to letter R, announcements.
Mr. President,
My apologies, recognize Senator Hofschneider.
immediately following the session, we were supposed to resume at 3:30, but because this session took longer than anticipated, I just want to remind the members that we still have a FaceTime with DOF, which they are outside waiting, and OGM.
Understood. Thank you, Senator Hofschneider. Any other members? Being none, I do have one announcement. It's very clear that we have we've exhausted all our resources. During the hearings with PSS, there were many revelations and gaps identified, and I think that it would only be prudent and proper that we look into what it is that is going on with either the lack of communication or misunderstandings as to PSS and some of their I guess views as to how they've conducted their cost-cutting measures over the past 2 years or lack thereof. And as such, I will be asking Chairman of the Committee on Education and Youth Affairs through a memorandum after this hearing to endeavor to go ahead and effectuate that the assistance to look into PSS and find out what gaps are actually going on and what we need to do between now and next year to close that gap, because it's very clear that this is not possible anymore. So with that, if there's no other announcements, I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to adjourn today's session, subject to the call of the chair.
Do I hear a second? There's been a motion to adjourn today's session, subject to the call of the chair, and has been seconded. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. This session stands adjourned at 4:12 p.m. Thank you and good afternoon, everyone.